Pokemon Sword and Shield are the newest entries in the ultra-popular Pokemon series. It seems like every time a new entry in this series in a new region filled with Pokemon is announced, fans, myself included, from all over the world rejoice in eager anticipation to explore these new worlds brought to us by Game Freak. However, it seems that this time around, these new games aren't being received quite as well. Fans have been complaining that this next-gen Pokemon game actually feels like a massive downgrade when compared to the other games in the franchise. In typical dumpster fire fashion, just when you think the fire is finally going out, something new ignites only to continue this whole cycle again. So by the time I release this video, some brand new information to hate on might already be out. However, for now, let's break down people's main complaints into categories, with the first one being... Now, if you haven't been keeping track, there are now over 812 Pokemon to collect and catch along your journey, making the "gotta catch 'em all" slogan really seem like a chore. However, Game Freak has thankfully made this task extremely easy for the player in this newest entry. How, you ask? Simple, they are removing the possibility of acquiring most of them. That's right, you will only be able to catch the new Pokemon introduced in Sword and Shield, as well as some hand-picked Pokemon from other games like Pikachu, Charizard, Blastoise, etc. Now you might be wondering, hey, maybe if you beat the game, you can now catch more Pokemon or something. No, Nintendo has flat out said that this game will only allow you to catch the Pokemon exclusive to this game. Keep in mind that there are people out there who pay for a service that allows them to store their Pokemon and transfer them to any game for only like $4.99 a year. Surely Nintendo thought of these people and they're gonna be accommodated, right? Nope, they are also shit out of luck. Now, I know that $4.99 may not seem like much at first, but when you consider the fact that these people are paying for a service they cannot actually use for the newest entry of an annual franchise, and they have no assurance that it will ever be used again, it's a pretty shitty situation, because essentially their Pokemon are stuck in purgatory until Game Freak decides that they can be accepted into the new game. Also, once you cancel your subscription, all of the Pokemon you have in there are deleted immediately. Which makes sense, I just hate to be the guy that has over 800 Pokemon he's got to transfer out of Pokemon Bank because he wants to save a couple bucks. On top of that, Game Freak didn't really help this controversy with their response to top it off. Their statement was basically, they're not going to be in this game. Maybe the next one, maybe not. Maybe go fuck yourself. And they gave an excuse that the reason these Pokemon weren't included was to focus on better and higher quality animations for the Pokemon in this game. Oh. We'll get to that later. Now, this section is more about my personal hatred for something that Game Freak does, but other people share my opinion on it, so therefore I'm including it in this video. Anyway, does anyone else hate that Game Freak's design philosophy of making awesome features exclusive to the game they're in? Now, I want you to humor me for a bit while I list off things that Game Freak has removed from past Pokemon games that could have been amazing if included and expanded upon in every new installment. The Battle Frontier, the ultimate challenge for you and your Pokemon. After the main game is over, challenge these tough trainers to truly be the best, and the music is always kick-ass. The Pokeathlon. Have your Pokemon compete in fun little minigames that are similar to the Olympics. Some Pokemon do better than others when it comes to certain events, so be sure to plan accordingly. Pokemon Beauty Contests. Bring out your Pokemon's inner star and put them in beauty contests for cool prizes. Triple Battles, which kinda sucked. Rotation Battles, which added a neat little element to battling. Guessing which Pokemon is going to move on the carousel to perfectly counter it is extremely satisfying. Mega Evolutions. New and exciting forms to older Pokemon, which even changed their types and gave a new edge to Pokemon battling. Awesome overworld flying, underground mining, underground bases, difficulty options, and walking alongside your Pokemon. And many, many more. Game Freak has this backwards design philosophy of abandoning features because something new is taking its place, rather than expanding upon something that people really liked. Instead of Mega Evolutions, we get Dynamaxing, which just makes your Pokemon larger, like really large. And while that's cool, I guess, there's nothing really unique about it. Like, Mega Evolutions changed the way that Pokemon looked in most cases. I hate to throw this word around even though I use it a lot, but this new feature comes across to me as incredibly lazy. Instead of developing and expanding upon one of the best received updates in years, let's make a mechanic that just jumbifies the Pokemon and doesn't alter them in any way because it's way easier to design. So before the excuse of, oh, it's for better animations comes in, let's go over the presentation aspect of Sword and Shield. I'm just gonna say it flat out, this game is ridiculously ugly looking. Everything looks so muddy and bland, there's just no personality or pizzazz in the world or in the art style. Everything is so flat and colorless, and the trees and textures look like there's something straight out of the N64. Pokemon's graphics have always been bad in my opinion since they made the jump from 2D sprites to 3D, which I'm a little bit more understanding on because the series has always been relegated to handheld consoles like the 3DS. However, this is now on the Switch. Don't tell me that you can't make nice looking visuals on that console. Breath of the Wild managed to do it just fine by stylizing itself so that it maintains a nice cartoony look while also making something that still looks great. But aside from the ugly looking visuals, what I really want to focus on are these high quality animations. Now, if you haven't seen them, I want to do a little experiment. I'm going to play animations from the new entry in a multi-billion-dollar franchise and animations from a bootleg Pokemon game, and I want you to try to guess which company did which animations. Obviously, it's pretty easy to guess that the highest grossing media franchise of all time has made these animations, right? Just kidding, they gave us these. I'm sorry, but there's really no excuse for the animations in this game to be this basic. I'd understand it a little bit more if all of the Pokemon would need to be animated in order for this to work, as this Chinese bootleg only has about 60 to 80 Pokemon available. But Game Freak literally said the reason the other Pokemon weren't included in this was for the sole reason of improving these newer Pokemon's animations. Hell, even if you look at the background of these Chinese bootlegs, there's more going on than any main series Pokemon game. Look at the cars driving by and the active city life going on while you're battling. And it's not like Game Freak doesn't have some of these animations already. Look at this Blaziken animation compared to what we see in battle. It's not like Game Freak has never done detailed battle animations, look at the stuff in the past. It's so incredibly embarrassing to see people defend the largest media franchise ever for having piss poor animations compared to what should be an inferior product. Even simple stuff like Charizard not shooting his fire breath out of his mouth is just so embarrassing when you consider how big this franchise is. I mean, this game was supposed to be Pokemon's leap into the next gen. The first ever main series Pokemon game on a modern Nintendo console, and this is what we get? Color me a little unimpressed, honestly. Now, I hate to be extremely cynical for a whole video, so to break up the negativity, I want to think of reasons as to why this game is so underwhelming to me personally. The common comeback people have against criticism is, well, Game Freak just don't have enough time to make the ultimate Pokemon game. And while that is true, it doesn't make it excusable by any means. The Pokemon series releases titles annually, meaning that since Pokemon Platinum, there has been a new main series Pokemon game every single year, with one exception. It doesn't matter how big your studio is, that is a very taxing and tiring process that basically ensures employee fatigue, especially considering that Game Freak never really delays games and they keep to a certain release date as far as I know. Now obviously there's a huge financial incentive to release new games every year because Pokemon basically prints money for Nintendo with every new release. But I feel like the games are really starting to suffer for it. It's easy to say, well, just stop releasing them annually. But there's other factors that people don't consider. Like for example, Nintendo is probably being pressured by shareholders to make as much money as possible. New games every year, so you get new merch, new episodes of the anime, new manga that you gotta read, you get the point. Another factor could be employee burnout. I mean, Game Freak have made 19 Pokemon games since 1997, and 4 original games that have nowhere near the same popularity that Pokemon does. Satoshi Tajiri stepped down as executive director for Pokemon back in 2004, and he was the original creator of Pokemon. It's probably because he was just sick of working on Pokemon. It doesn't matter how much you love something, being forced to work around the clock to ensure a yearly release will make anyone tired. I mean, can anyone really argue that annual franchises for games get better every single year? When Breath of the Wild was early in development, Nintendo brought in a new and fresh young crew to work on the game. They worked with the old school game designers and they questioned their design. They offered new solutions, and this collaborative effort made Breath of the Wild the fantastic game that it was. I feel like Game Freak really needs something like this right now. They've used the same tired old game design since the very start, and there's been very little variation or innovation in that department. Pokemon was a huge part of my childhood. Playing Gold and Silver in the back of my dad's car with my dimly lit Game Boy will always bring a very strong sense of nostalgia to me. I've bought and played pretty much every single Pokemon game, and I think that this might be it for me. I'm choosing to vote with my wallet on this one. I know it's like that scene in Saving Private Ryan where Tom Hanks is shooting the tank with a pistol, and that my one missed sale will inevitably get flooded by millions and millions of other sales. However, I just can't bring myself to support this franchise anymore until some major changes are made. And if you're one of those people out there that is complaining about this game like me and you want some serious change, then I consider you vote with your wallet as well, because Nintendo could not care less about your opinion if they've already got your money. Thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, consider checking out my other episode in the Dumpster Fire series where I discuss the Anthem Dumpster Fire, a game that had a hell of a lot more development woes than Pokemon did. And if you want to see more videos from me in the future, please consider sticking around and subscribing. Anyways, that's it for me. I'll see you guys next time.